Hello everybody, and today we're going to be breaking down the number one player's gameplay. In case you guys don't know who the number one player is currently on all platforms, it's Iron. And I've actually done a video breakdown of him earlier on, right when he hit 1,000 wins. And he was primarily playing in trios and quads, but for whatever reason, he's really enjoying solos and almost is exclusively playing solos. So I thought it was a great opportunity to kind of revisit it because he's still winning at an incredibly high rate. Not quite as high as the 65% that we saw earlier on, but closer to about 35-40% of his matches are wins within solos. So I thought I'd break down one of his recent wins and kind of explain some of his strategies involved to help players improve in solos. Because for the majority, if you go to streams, 99% of streamers, content creators are not uploading solos, and they're not enjoying solos generally just because it's much slower pace, a little bit more campy, a little bit harder to go for those high kill games. So a lot of times they choose to go with trios and quads. So in today's video, we're breaking down some of his gameplay and pointing out some significant strategies that allow him to get to the end game a majority of the time and position himself to win a lot of these matches. If you do enjoy the video or find it helpful in any way, please do me a favor hitting that like button. Goal in today's video is 2,500 likes, so hopefully you can help me hit that number. If you want to find your way back for more Call of Duty content, make sure you are subscribed with notifications on, and obviously all the links to his stuff, his YouTube, his Twitter, and his Twitch will be linked down in the description, so if you want to check those out and catch a live stream, kind of pick his brain about his class setups, his strategies, and overall method of playing the game, I would definitely recommend checking out his Twitch, where he regularly streams lots of hours. So first thing here is we have a zone that's kind of more bottom left, kind of still more in the middle of the zone, and he's doing a stretch zone. And one of the things that he has an advantage is on a lot of players is just general playtime. When you've played the game enough, there's certain elements that are become very predictable, and you want to try and replicate those elements as often as possible for multiple different reasons. But mainly because most battle royales is a certain level of randomness in it because of where the zone's going to be, where the rotations are. Obviously, you can do recons or whatever, but that's not the point. It's more about you don't know how your opponents are always going to play. You don't know where people are always going to be. And we'll see how he kind of maneuvers through the map and knows certain things that actually help him to get an edge on his competition. Obviously, he saw someone else landing there. He's going to mount up, try and see if this guy jumps out the window and get a nice clean shot. Obviously, the floor ram is still viable, but it has a lot of recoil and not a lot of bullets to get it done. So if you miss your shots, it can be very unforgiving. He spots the guy, lands a couple shots. Obviously, this guy that he's shooting at probably doesn't have a ton of plates. He ends up finishing the guy off. That guy goes to the gulag. So he gets to continue looting this area. And after you've looted a certain area, a lot of times you got kind of the pattern of how the contracts work and how the overall behavior of the in-game mechanics work. One of the things that I did learn from him from the previous video that we broke down is how the recons work. He's not going to do really any recons hardly in solo. He doesn't really think that's the best strategy. It doesn't give you enough money, and normally the rotations aren't always as perfect. So you primarily want to focus on cash, which can ideally be done through scavs and bounties, whichever is the most convenient. One of the things he knows in this area is there's this little scav floating around on the left-hand side that you can kind of see. It's just over there. He already knows the pattern of that scavenger. So he's going to go pick it up. He could grab it, and he already knows where the next location is going to be, and the next location, and the next location through trial and error. So one of the things that's an advantage to you as a player is, let's say somebody ends up grabbing that bounty or that contract, the scavenger, you could already position yourself in a way to cut that person off at where their next designated loot location is. So in this particular case, he's going to end up engaging this guy. So he spotted him. He has a heartbeat sensor early game, but as soon as the free loadout drops or somebody has the opportunity to get a loadout, tosses out the window. It's not useful if it doesn't work 100% of the time. So to kind of put your faith into the heartbeat sensor late game or middle game could be a little unfortunate. Cause you to put yourself in a position where you're going to just get destroyed by somebody that was positioned in a better location that you just decided not to check. Somebody ended up grabbing the scavenger, so you can see where the guy's coming from. He was aware of it. He had the eye on the scavenger. That's where he was going to go. And then he knew that that's where the guy was going to rotate to. So he was able to take that guy out, and that's something you get through experience. You already kind of have an idea of, okay, if I go here, the next scav is going to be there, and you can position yourself. So all this early game is kind of owning this area. It was a stretch drop. because at the end of the day, he's all about winning. He's going to do 100% of what he needs to win, regardless if he only needs 3 kills or 15 kills or 20 plus kills. He's going to do whatever he needs to do to get that job done. So that's kind of how it works. See, so he already knew. That's what he's talking about in this. That's why I highly recommend watching him live, because you can pick up on a lot of these different tips where he's going, I already know it was going to go here, then there, then there. So if I saw him and I lost track of the guy, I could have retraced where I knew he was going to go, and I could have cut him off at any point in the process, which is an insane advantage in the game, that basically by picking up that scav, someone knowing where it was, they kind of already put a little tracker on themselves without them even knowing it. So at a high level, this is how the game would typically be played if there was like ranked mode. Obviously, there's skill-based matchmaking, but if there was a ranked mode, people would be playing a little bit slower, a little bit more methodical about how they move. They'd be making different choices, and they would memorize these various patterns. The other thing he ends up focusing on is trying to make it through this first zone, get his loadout in addition to getting the other loadout. So he has best of his both weapons with overkill, and then he has ghost, and then, you know, depending on certain zones, maybe he goes with restock, but generally he's going to go with ghost because of how valuable it is in Warzone compared to possibly running almost any other on any other perk. So he's just scavenging for money. Nothing crazy here. Got a satchel, gonna be able to pick up the next plate. So he only needs $300, and he's just making his rotation around the edge of the map, slowly and methodically moving across the way. And one thing you got to be aware of is there's different types of players. Obviously, like I said, he is 100% about the win. And I know there's a lot of people watching this that just want to get more wins. They don't care if they get 20 kills. They don't have, if it doesn't happen organically, they don't care. It's a battle royale, and how you're supposed to play as a battle royale is to win. Obviously, there's some strategy involved. Doesn't mean you just camp a corner, because then you're relying on a little bit of chance of how the zone's going to rotate. This, he got his 10,000, so now he's going to go get his little loadout. And then I believe he's running the FAL and then also running an HDR. Normally with his strategy, he's going to run the HDR as well as a whatever other rifle or whatever medium to close range thing. Sometimes he'll run it with the Uzi, but 99% of the time he's running his loadout with a sniper rifle. And there's actually a couple different reasons for this. One of the main reasons is if you're playing solos, if you put yourself in a position where you're going to run an SMG rifle, you're 100% going for kills, and you're going full aggro, closing the distance, pushing people, and using different, you know, setting it up to close that gap. Then you never really get an opportunity to use your self-revive, because if you have to be at those distances where you're normally going to get in a rifle or an SMG engagement, it's close enough for the person to close that gap. Whereas with the sniper rifle, if you're choosing certain engagements at a longer range, a lot of times if you're positioned well enough, most of the time, even if you get down by that one-shot sniper, you can reposition and then stim, revive yourself, and then you can get back into the engagement. Also, by positioning himself on this side, he guaranteed that his loadout was going to be in this general area, and that's something you learn through the patterns as well. If I'm at this spot when the loadout is about to drop, it has a designated area that it will drop pretty much 99% of the time, as long as it's within the zone. There's certain fundamental rules with the zone that the loadout will drop near the edge of the zone or 100% in the zone. But if you're far outside the zone, it's not going to drop randomly way far out there. It just doesn't really make sense. They want to try and still give you the chance to do that, even if you're coming back from the gulag or whatever. The second zone, same thing. When it has that fifth zone where the loadout drops, it pretty much drops inside the circle. And when you pay attention, it dropping down, you can see how many people are in your general area based off of that. And he only had one loadout there. So he's continuing to work his way across the edge of the map and kind of work his way across. Obviously, the zone kind of went all the way more to the left side of the map. He's just peeking really quick. And he has a good habit of checking and rechecking and continually checking his corners and all that type of stuff. So you'll see, plays a pretty smooth game.
You're weird, but like it's okay.
And the goal isn't necessarily, like I said, to get a ton of kills, which is perfectly fine if that's your strategy. You could just expect to lose more often because generally somebody else is trying to do this strat and they're thinking way further ahead and they're playing for the win. So there's definitely a conflict of interest there depending on how you actually want to play the game.
And a lot of the times that you'll die in solos is zone 2 and 3. say that all the
So
time.
one thing he's talking about right now is that the biggest mistake a lot of times solo players will make, you can see that there's 46 people only in the match total, 45 besides him. And what inevitably happens is that you get this like confidence that, hey, you know what? I can just go wherever I want. And, you know, there's not a lot of people, so they're kind of spread out. I have my piece of the map. I'm perfectly fine. And they kind of just run around and they get an easy death. And then you go to the gulag and then you have to deal with the RNG of whatever weapon you get. You end up with a Dragonov or, you know, something like that's terrible to use and is not really a lot of fun to use. You don't really put your trust in. You're going to end up in a bad situation. So he started off with Claymores early game because he's going to lock down a particular area. He's designated as this is one of the areas. If it pulls this general direction, he's going to be set. He puts the Claymore there, not to kill a player, not to down a player, but that just gives you more audio cues to pay attention of what's going on. So if somebody climbs up that ladder, they'll probably jump off, but he'll know, hey, somebody's in the area. Same thing if he has a second Claymore, he'll probably drop his ammo box to get the second Claymore and then place it down at the other ladder. And again, he's not necessarily camping because he's just not holding a lane, but he is locking down a power position. And when you're trying to win, winning is a lot about power positions. He also acknowledges that he was paying attention to the map. He knows that the bounty is over here because where they grabbed, he said, oh, they're going to be coming straight for me. And he ends up peeking the area and spots the guy running directly at him. And he's able to hit his snipes. Hits one snipe, peeks again. Little shimmy there, bounce up and down, and that guy was his bounty. So that's why there's other reasons to pay attention to the map and have a good awareness or picture what's going on. So if certain contracts disappear, you know, oh, that's where that person was. Oh, that's where that person was. So he was able to see that with the scab, which led to pretty much a free kill because that guy was just running straight, zeroed in, laser focused. Same thing to this guy. He goes, oh, I got him out there. He's probably just doing it. Nope. He goes up, spotted him. Guy's got to be coming from that direction. He got the bounty and it's on me. So I know which way he's coming from. So that was just, you know, good timing a little bit. But the awareness and mind, you can see the guy drop down below. He's like looking for him. He's like, where the heck did this guy go? I don't know if he heard the audio cue. I didn't actually see the player. I'm thinking the player dropped on the backside, but you never know. He's like, where the heck did this guy go? So a little bit more about the class setup. Obviously, he's combining the FAL with the HDR. And pretty much how he treats the HDR is he's going to engage a majority of his gunfights between 50 meters and above with the HDR. Pretty much everything with 50 and below, he's going to use the FAL for. A lot of times, you know, you can use the Bruin, but that's going to be your long range option. You still need something up close. Sometimes it'll be the MP5. But currently in the broken state that the FAL is in, especially about how easy it is to have a trigger finger on PC or keyboard and mouse or whatever, you're going to have the opportunity to reach that trigger cap pretty easily. And the recoil control is significantly easier, in my opinion, on keyboard and mouse. Obviously, it takes much longer to get get the consistency you can get with the controller. But overall, he's going to be able to hit shots and they're going to down players because the FAL is that good. The biggest issue is either the trigger cap or you not being able to hit your shots. If you're a good player, you should be able to do both. So the guy actually was looting over there. He actually looted and came back.
Make sure that the guy who's calling in these UAVs isn't right freaking here.
So it's all about having these little habits. He heard a UAV called in. He goes, let me check the buy station real quick, making sure that no one's there because normally people go to the buy station, pop a UAV, they have enough money to buy the second one, they'll buy a second one, and then they go ahead and take off. That's why you need to check your buy station to see if somebody came up on it.
That's enough for another self-res, so now I got the C4 that I was talking about.
So he has a self-revive. If he gets sniped up here, a lot of times he's going to get downed and he could just self-revive, get to cover a hill, and then he gets a second opportunity at the engagement. Looks like there's a guy out here. And he's in engagement with somebody else, the guy that was down here. See how he switched to his sniper, which is going to use at range. The guy was pretty much one shot, and I think whoever else was peeking at him ended up taking the guy out. So I don't know if that was a kill trade or not because it looks like these guys end up disappearing completely. And then the other thing you can see is he doesn't really stand still for particularly long. He's strafing, moving around. You can see he has the C4. When he went and looted the body, he also swapped the C4 with the Claymore. So now when he does a restock or any of those types of things, he's going to get a C4. Generally, you want the Claymores to kind of lock down the rotation part of it, so he's good. He's locking down this building. As long as it stays in the zone, he's going to stay in the zone and then rotate when the time is necessary to rotate to the next best spot on the map. And he already kind of has a lot of experience because he has the play time to get that done. Obviously, on the screen right below my webcam, you can see he has 1,500 wins, and he's still getting 10 plus wins only playing solos daily. He gets a nasty snipe here. This guy coming back from the gulag, not happy as he runs across and one shot, one kill, 231 meters, nasty snipe. And you can see he's not like being a ghost on the map, because that's what a lot of times people will do when they're trying to go for wins. They're just going to be a ghost in camp, and they already have their ghost and they're just going to hide. Versus here, he's actively controlling this area. Anyone that comes within a perimeter, he's going for them. He's not going to leave his power position. Why would you? That's a smart play if you're trying to win in a battle royale. You wouldn't leave the most powerful position to put yourself at a disadvantage or to even the level playing field. You would keep the advantage as long as you can. And that's what he's doing. That's a smart play. And that's how you win more matches, by continuing to make smart plays regardless of how many kills you're getting. And even from playing this way, he's already gone about and got 6 kills. I think he ends up getting 10 plus kills in the match. So there's still a lot more engagements to be had, especially if you're locking down an area. You keep people at a distance. The sniper's good for that, as long as you're able to hit your shots. So there's a lot of the variables that go into it and how you're going to play. He's still in the zone. Sometimes with this one, it will pull to this blue area, so you can get pretty lucky. But you can see he hasn't done a single recon. And just by rotating to a good power position, he's been able to hold down this area for quite a while. And pretty much what he's marking on the map is saying that a lot of people will rotate up to that position the same way he did, but they're doing it much later. So he just checks it on occasion, peeks it regularly, and then kind of knows a lot of people like to position in that area. So he just has a good eye on that. So talking about what we talked about earlier, where zones 2 and 3 feel like slow zones, but they end up dying out pretty quick. Went from 45 plus people in the lobby. Now we're down to 14 total, 13 plus the one plus himself. So you're talking about over like 2/3 of the lobby dying again from that point. So it's 2/3 died after the first zone. Then in zones 2 and 3, another 2/3 die, and you end up being almost in a top 15 position right here, where you're going to get into that position where you're going to be in a top 10 pretty quickly. So it's not incredibly hard. This guy did sneak around, got his loadout, end up getting unfortunate circumstances where he got a self-revive, and then it end up getting killed. Unfortunately, he couldn't kill that guy beforehand so he can get the money, but that guy had no clue he was up here because he wasn't making a lot of noise. He just crept around, didn't go up the ladder. He would have heard him if he went up the ladder, but that guy should have done a better job of scoping out and checking out the area to find out if he was up here.
Okay, he does not have gulag.
So gulag's closed. He never went to the gulag, so he's still in a good spot. That means no one else is coming back. Total of 13 players total, 12 plus him. So this area in general should be fairly clear. He's been locking down the outside edge of it, mainly been paying attention to what's going on, seeing if any people are gliding in. He wanted to see if this guy was going to come back. But based off the guy's loadout disappearing, I believe, I don't think the guy's coming back. I think he has no gulag. So he had no chance. Pretty much once it disappears, it's like they're not coming back for it. Gonna go see what the guy had. The guy was actually pretty looted. He just wanted a loadout. He was probably trying to get his ghost loadout. Bought some armor plates, a UAV, picks back up the precision. So now he's fully stocked. He still continued to check that area, and he marked it ahead of time. He ends up spotting the guy. The guy thought he was going to creep up. Ooh, the nice snipe. So obviously you got to be a good player too. You got to hit the snipes, but that's the advantage of using it so regularly. It's part of that rhythm where you can hit those shots. So he was very vigilant about checking that area repeatedly. And then he almost knew somebody was going to be creeping in from that area just by knowing these rotations. And that comes again with experience. You got to try and land in similar areas over and over. He has enough playtime where he's landed at every area on the map 100 plus times. With 1,500 wins and over 60% or maybe 50% win rate now, you're talking about having 3,000 matches. So you've landed almost everywhere on the map. You've had almost every different zone shift. So mentally, you've kind of learned a lot. So what does that mean for somebody who doesn't have all that playtime and experience? Well, maybe focus on one area of the map, continue landing there, focus on how it rotates from there. Look at where the contracts are. Look at where the overall rotation once you grab those contracts are. So in case somebody else grabs them, you can cut them off at the last one and maybe steal their money once they came into the money by being in an opportune position. So there's a lot of different things there that are more nuanced things that you really just got to learn over time. So you can see how he rotated to the next power position. He knows that he's only weak from this area, primarily from pool. So that's why he continues to check pool over and over again. The area behind him should be fairly clear. Even if the guy was rotating, it's probably one of those ones that when he sniped, he was good to go. There's still 7 players in addition to him.
It's a dad joke for 2030. Write it down.
And again, I think he's always thinking of the sniping positions because if he gets downed right here, he's low enough where it's going to be tricky for that person to finish him off and, you know, get the shot off where they can kill him. He can a lot of times going to be able to self-revive and reposition in a way that will allow him to retake the gunfight, but without that element of surprise. He sniped this guy, got the 2 shots, clean, nasty snipes. And like I said, the snipes are one of his strong suits. And he takes advantage of that for sure. So now we're in a top 5 situation. There's only 3 other players. He throws the flash there. He's seeing if the guy's still there. And then he's going to end up pushing to take that guy out. So there's a top 3. So there's 2 other people somewhere else. And then he has this one-on-one right here. The guy is luckily enough able to stay in the gas. He double checks to see if the guy's still there. Flash goes off. He challenges this before the guy can see. The guy had a C4 down. Ends up clean, nasty kill there. And that's the power of the foul. It's too broken. If you hit those chest shots and a headshot, you die in 3 shots, even up to like 20 plus meters. So he's peeking around the edge here. More than likely, now he's in a 1v1. So whoever it was the last team to fight. He's got to spot the guy. He's assuming the guy is coming from that far side because he's already peeked this side. The other guy was over here. Normally the way the triangle works, which I was talking about in a previous video, is they kind of line up where they're on the opposite end of the map wherever the action is because they would have fought and you would have found out. So now he's just got to spot the guy. The guy's out in the open. This guy's making a mistake. And he ends up taking the L. So overall, pretty good match in my opinion. Very smooth, methodical, things went well. It didn't matter how skillful or unskillful those players were because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter when you have the right positioning. Obviously, that guy could have probably hit him. He could have been in a bad spot. He's far enough, be behind a rock, revive, played up, get back into the engagement once the zone gets closer and the guy closes that distance. I highly recommend checking out his channel. He's usually live on Twitch a majority of the time. So if you go ahead and drop in, ask some questions, let him know I sent you. I've already referred a ton of people over there just because I think he's such a smart player that you can learn from, has plenty of the reps, and there's a lot of the different nuances in the game that you can learn from a player like that. So hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, please remember to hit that like button. Again, the goal on today's video is 2,500 likes. If you're brand new, want to find your way back for more Call of Duty content, make sure you are subscribed with notifications on. Appreciate all the support on the channel. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.